Okay, let me see. Let me join. Let me click on WebEx. I'm still going to use almost there.
Hello?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to hang up the landline call, and I'm now connected on web call.
Thank you.
Thanks. This is Deborah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So on other cards, should we allow a couple more minutes for late joiners, or are we mostly all here?
There could be a few more based on previous attendance.
Okay. As folks are joining, please don't forget to add your names to the attendees list. Let's give one more minute since we do have some time. Just a reminder, as you're joining, it looks like we have a lot more participants that are indicated on the attendee list. If you would please add your name. We won't actually take roll call. Okay. It's probably a good idea to get started. Thanks and welcome to everyone. Apologies too in advance. I kind of dropped the ball on not getting the agenda out. That won't happen again, but let's review the items for today. So we have our welcome, upcoming calendar events and announcements, facilitator and note taker for the April 14th, and also call for future presentations. Karen is going to give us a rebrand update, And then there's also a question about remote participation in the partners meeting at LDCX by Peter Brinkley. Do we have other topics to add at this time? All right, then let's go ahead and get started again. As you're joining, please don't forget to add your name to the attendees list below. Upcoming calendar events and announcements. Does anybody have some announcements about these or any upcoming calendar events?
Deborah, this is Tom. I just wanted to point out that at the end of this month, as you've already alluded, there will be a LDCX, which is a LAM DevCon X meeting here at Stanford from March 27th through 29th, followed up by a Hydra partner meeting March 30th and 31st. And the partner meeting, while it's called a partner meeting, it's open to both current and prospective partners, basically people who are ready, willing, and able to act like partners as part of the process.
Thanks, Tom. Does it make sense maybe to take on number 5 then, the question about remote participation at LDCX?
Yes, and it's the question about LDCX or the partner meeting, as they are kind of separate events.
Yeah, this is Peter Binkley. I'm the one who put that on. Our particular concern is the partners meeting. We feel that the discussion of the roadmap and the planning of future directions is going to be really important and really interesting. But travel across the border is not a popular option from up here these days. So if there were the possibility to follow the conversation remotely by streaming audio or something and contribute back in either directly or via Skype or Slack, or something, that would be wonderful. And I'm wondering if there are others in the same position who would like that ability to be in on the conversation without being physically in attendance.
I would be interested in that. This is Deborah. I won't be able to attend the partners meeting on site.
Yeah, Peter, I think that's a great idea, a great request, and certainly in the spirit of the meeting. And we will set up a standing Blue Jeans link for the event so people can join. There are also, I have 80% complete an email out to the volunteer planners, and over the next week or so we'll be setting firmer timetables and some more framing, so it'll be possible to know when to call in and what kind of preparation, if any, would be useful for the various tracks.
That is wonderful. Thanks. That's just what we were hoping for.
I'm sorry we can't see you here. I wish Canadian politics were more favorable. When your prime minister is that good looking, you just can't bear to go anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't even want to talk about ours.
All right. Okay. Maybe let's work backwards then. Rebranding update. Karen, are you ready to give us an update?
Sure, and anyone else from steering is welcome to chime in too. I just got a couple direct questions to me, which is why I wanted to make sure that we address it. And also to draw everyone's attention to, we did close the initial survey after getting feedback from the community that it was a bit unwieldy. And thanks especially to Mark and Bess and Mike Giarlo for going through and getting rid of things that were not according to our criteria. So there is a new survey out there on SurveyMonkey. We are looking for community feedback. That is one of the questions I've gotten, is are we just looking for partner feedback or institution feedback? But this is a full community feedback. So please do encourage individuals who are active in the community to respond at this point. For the next stage, the other question that I've got was, how does this affect our next stage? And the truth is, because it is a much smaller list, I think one of the things that steering will be doing is reassessing what those results look like we'll definitely be having a discussion and interaction with partners, but we need to see what the final results look like and basically what the implications are going forward from there. And I just wanted to give time for people to ask questions or other people on steering to chime in. Since it's silent, I'm just going to pick on Carolyn. Did I answer all your questions, Carolyn?
I was gonna say thank you, Karen. Yes, you did. When I read Bess's email, it almost sounded like that was instead of what Richard had sent out 2 days before. So that's why it confused me slightly.
This is Alicia from Tufts. Has the consultant been hired?
Chris has been in discussions with a company, and we have kind of a call. He is setting a call coming up with them. Is Chris on the line?
I am, yes.
So
I had the call yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a useful conversation that I need to reflect back to on first. It's with a company that's helped to advise a large number of open access or open source projects, and I think what was interesting is that they're not an explicitly marketing company, having said that. So they felt that there was probably limited assistance that they could provide indirectly on the renaming aspect. But they were a company that helped to advise on how open source projects structure and organize themselves and how they might develop their long-term strategic plan around what they're trying to achieve with the open source development. So there's some potential in having some external input perhaps on not necessarily the name per se, but an understanding of how we use that name, how we use whatever new logo comes out to help take Hydra to the next step, to the next level, and inform our long-term development based on that. Alongside that, I do have had a conversation with someone who does work in marketing here in Hull, and he will be willing to review the names that we shortlist and provide an external view on whatever we feel we would like to take forward, and provide that external input and sense check before we make any final decision.
This is Linda talking. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question for the steering committee that I'm trying to figure out whether I should ask it, because I don't know if everyone on the call has already voted. If you've already given your choices and preferences, then I won't be influencing you with my comments. So I have that process question that I'm trying to work through. But basically, I'm curious whether steering is enthusiastic about the shorter list that we've come up with. When I first saw the long list, I agreed it was too unwieldy. And then when I saw the shorter list, I thought, do we have a general sense that there are some really great candidates in here or not?
Yeah, Linda, that's a good question. Maybe I can answer that in somewhat of, that's what I think what we're hoping to assess from the results. That's why we have the really like and the not acceptable at all. So if they all come back or a majority come back as not acceptable, I think that's something we can reassess at the time. And that's also why we provided 2 comment boxes, one for new names or if something really, should have been in there that wasn't, as Tom called it, the write-in box, as well as is there something that really we need to definitely not consider. But that is definitely why we'll need to assess the survey results before moving on to the next step and continuing the discussion with partners.
So I would encourage us to look at the enthusiasm level too. If it comes back, the majority are, well, this would be okay. That would be maybe something causing us to reassess just as much as if the majority come back saying this is unacceptable.
Yeah. And we'll have a discussion with partners. I mean, with the results too. So definitely.
Chris, is this something the consultant can help us with?
It is potentially one of those areas they feed in on. I think I would just reiterate that they were at pains in this particular company. It's called Open Tech Strategies. They wanted to reinforce the fact that they did not see themselves as being an exclusively marketing company, and therefore weren't necessarily able to advise on necessarily the marketing advantages or disadvantages of one name over the other. But in the context of whether or not they felt it would suit what we are trying to achieve, then yes, they could provide some input.
So Karen, this is Robin. I have a question. So let's say that a lot of people in the community vote, and we see that there's anywhere from 1 to 4 clear favorites that the community rated high. Would we consider that acceptable?
I would consider that acceptable if they're rated really high by a majority of people in the community.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was feeling.
And as many of you know, we talked on the last partner call too. There is another aspect to this, which is when we get the short list, we will also be making sure that we don't run into trademark issues again before anything goes forward. So there's a legal step that has to happen that is more thorough than our initial step, as well as the kind of marketability and where we go from there. So there's a couple things we have to kind of all do at once as soon as we get the results from the survey, or a shorter list.
And this is Tom. I do think one of the original thoughts behind having a wave of votes is that this is an area where names grow on people, and you can build consensus or build viability. So it may be that things that seem a little bit wonky or strange now will become just fine after another round of votes or a little bit of time thinking.
That's a very good point.
Other questions about rebranding? I'm guessing this will be a topic at Stanford for the partners meeting too, right?
Yes. Thank you, Deborah.
Okay. All right. I think then if there are no other agenda items, we can probably move on to identifying a facilitator and a note taker for next call. First, are there additional topics or agenda items that anybody wishes to discuss? Okay. Do we have volunteers first for a facilitator for next time?
Deborah, I don't know how many people are in the same situation as we are with it being spring break. And I don't know, because usually I have other people attending the partner calls. I just wonder if it's worth casting a broader net for that question.
Just send a note out to the actual list. Is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, because, I don't know. How do others feel since I'm not usually on this call?
So the next call is on April 10th, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and send if that's fine with everybody else, we can send a larger request. Does anybody want to take notes?
This is James. I can take notes.
Okay, great, James. Thank you so much. And we'll send a request for facilitator to the larger group. Do we have provisions for what happens if nobody says we'll do it? Do you just put somebody on the spot at the meeting?
So this is Nabila from University of Michigan, and I can volunteer to facilitate for the next time, but I was wondering, every time I attend this meeting, I see this as a dilemma that it's hard to get a facilitator and a note taker, and maybe it would be a good idea just to have in alphabetical order every institute just take turns, you know.
We could certainly do that. I suspect maybe part of the challenge with this is that this is a more transient list.
That's true.
And I'll say what others have said before, that actually the facilitating job, I think, is easier than the note-taking job. So, but perhaps.
But I would like to remind everyone that we changed the format, so the facilitator needs to, about a week ahead of time, put a call out and try to identify a few institutions to actually give presentations. So it's a little more work in remembering to do that, and if no one's volunteering, actually trying to contact a few people in the community and say, hey, we haven't heard from you in a while. Would you like to do a presentation? We really encourage it.
That is true. I wonder if there's, if we want to coordinate anything as much as 6 months out and have people lined up to be facilitators, that also gives them a little more time to work on that task of trying to get people to make presentations.
I wonder, so in other groups, the responsibility for this is more stable. So there's a single person that is responsible for collecting agenda items and making, reaching out to others to do presentations. And I wonder if this group is maybe approaching that, where there would be some benefit to some consistency across meetings with respect to facilitation. And I'll acknowledge, I know I dropped the ball today, but I think that might help make those agendas, again, provide consistency across, assure greater follow-up on some of the topics.
I think that's a great idea, and instead of one person, if there are two people partnering up on that, that would be a little bit helpful too. If one person cannot facilitate, then we help the other person.
Okay.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time thinking about what does it mean to be a partner, and how can you give back to the project, and this could be a great way for a small handful of people too, or maybe a slightly number, to curate and execute over the course of a year, and have a cracking good set of Hydra partner calls with continuity and excellent implementation.
Definitely.
At the risk of wearing out my welcome, and especially on the heels of a little bit of a botched agenda, I would be willing to participate and put more consistent effort to helping in that regard. But I'll also allow this group some time to think about that, since
I think
okay.
we have a lighter list of attendees right now, and it's probably something I would consider doing as well. So, yeah, I'm just saying maybe we should revisit this in the next call and make some decisions about it.
That sounds good.
Okay.
I can volunteer for next time. Definitely, we can have that. We already have one agenda item.
Okay. All right. So we have a facilitator and an agenda item and a note taker. Those are all the agenda items for today. One last time, are there any additional topics or business that needs to be discussed? Okay, if not, I think we can adjourn early. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Yay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.